My consciousness tore itself free from the pitch-black, viscous abyss, yet my throat still carried the lingering, suffocating agony. The cold storage room, musty from the chill in my previous life, the securely locked high-end security door, and outside it, Lily's coquettish yet icy voice, "Sister, you've occupied the luxurious house Mom and Dad left for far too long. It's time for me and my child to move in. Just sleep peacefully inside. No one will come to rescue you." I jolted my eyes open, gasping for breath in great gulps. Outside the window, the sun was bright, and a gentle breeze stirred the white sheer curtains. The electronic perpetual calendar on the wall clearly displayed the time, March 12, 2026, 9:45 a.m. I was back. Back to the day before Lily showed up with her pregnancy report, demanding the property deed. Without a moment's hesitation, not a trace of sentiment, not even a single tear. The despair of being starved and dehydrated to death in my previous life now transformed into a cold, bone-deep rationality. I walked straight to the study, opened the safe, and took out the property deed registered solely in my name, along with the notarized will my parents had prepared before they passed. This luxurious, open-plan apartment, located in the city's core district and valued at over 20 million yuan, was my independent property, explicitly registered only under my name by my parents. In my previous life, out of tolerance for my younger sister, I not only let her stay for free but also softened when she produced her pregnancy proof, considering letting her use it as a marital home. The result? She and her husband conspired to kill me, usurping what was mine. In this life, she doesn't even deserve the chance to touch this doorknob again. I picked up my phone and dialed Eric, the top-tier manager at the city's most prestigious high-end real estate agency. "Eric, it's Abigail. That 400 square meter apartment I own in Huafu, Tianjin, I want to sell it today for a lump sum, no financing." Eric on the other end was clearly stunned by the sudden news. "Miss Abigail? That property's current market valuation is at least around 22 million, and it's still appreciating. Are you sure you want to sell today?" "Yes, today. Lump sum, slightly below market price is fine, but the condition is that the intent deposit must be settled today, and the full amount paid within 3 days. My voice was emotionless, cold as a precision machine. "If the price can be lowered to 19 million, I happen to have a buyer, Mr. David, who needs a ready property for family asset allocation. He can come anytime with his lawyer and a cashier's check to put down the deposit. See you in my living room in 10 minutes. I hung up and quickly contacted a professional moving company. I didn't need to keep any extra furniture or memories. All luxury items, private documents, and valuable jewelry were categorized, boxed, and packed. As for the custom furniture that couldn't be taken, I simply had the agent include its value in the transaction price. 10 minutes later, the doorbell rang. Outside stood the agency manager Eric, along with a middle-aged man in a bespoke suit, looking dignified, Mr. David, followed by 2 accompanying lawyers holding contracts. "Miss Abigail, Mr. David is very concerned about your property rights. We need to confirm that the title is completely independent and without dispute," the lawyer said in a professional tone. I casually placed the property deed, the exclusive ownership certificate, and the notarized legal documents in a row on the marble coffee table. "The title is clear, no mortgages, no loans, no co-owners. Sign today, pay the full deposit of 3 million today, and the remaining balance will be settled within 2 days. After meticulously reviewing all the property documents, Mr. David's eyes showed extreme satisfaction. "Miss Abigail, you're certainly a decisive person. Since the property is wholly independent of any disputes, I have bought this house." Just as the lawyer handed over the house sale contract and the pen, a sudden sound came from the lock, a keypad being pressed. "Beep, password incorrect. Beep, password incorrect." Then there was urgent knocking on the door and Lily's coquettish complaints outside. "Sister, why did you change the door lock password? Open the door quickly, I've brought my prenatal test results to show you good news." Listening to that familiar yet nauseating voice, a cold arc curled at the corners of my mouth. I didn't even bother to blink, nor did I have the interest to glance outside. I simply raised the Mont Blanc signature pen in my hand and, on the house sale contract and the urgent property transfer application, decisively signed my name, Abigail. The pen left its mark, the document complete. With a snap, the earnest money check was firmly handed into my grasp. Outside the door, Lily, finding no one answering, began banging the door even harder. "Sister. What are you doing hiding inside? The fiancé and I are outside. Our parents once said this house also belongs to me. You must explain things to me today." I tucked away the check, smiled at the intermediary Eric and the new owner Mr. David. "Mr. David, from now on, the accelerated transfer procedure for the property is officially in motion. To safeguard your legal rights, I advise you to contact a locksmith now and replace the top-tier security door." Eric, with sharp eyes, replied, "Don't worry, Miss Abigail. We have professional locksmith partners who can be there within 5 minutes. As for any unrelated people disturbing the deal outside, our security team will handle it immediately." I lifted the already prepared minimalist suitcase, gathered all the property transfer agreements, and didn't look back at that cold building even once, slowly stepping off the dedicated high-rise private elevator. The next morning, sunlight flooded the corridors of Huafu Tianjing in large, sweeping beams. Lily wore an exquisite high-fashion maternity gown, her face lit with a confident and triumphant smile. Behind her stood her fiancé Ethan and Ethan's mother, whose face was etched with sharpness and scrutiny. "Mom, don't worry. My sister is the softest-hearted person you'll ever meet." Lily linked arms with Ethan, her tail nearly wagging to the heavens. Our parents left early, and this 400-square-meter top luxury house is nominally under her name, but as long as I pull out this pregnancy report and press her with our deceased parents, she definitely won't dare refuse to hand the house over to us as our wedding home. Ethan's mother narrowed her eyes, glancing around the opulent lobby, a greedy light flashing in her eyes. "Humph, at least she's sensible. Ethan is the sole heir of our family, and you're carrying the future eldest grandson. A single woman living in such a big house won't fear aging. Hurry and open the door. I'm going to plan how to renovate the master bedroom today." Lily produced the backup mechanical key she had long secretly prepared, expertly inserting it into the lock and turning with force. Click. The door lock emitted a muffled sound, but the key remained stuck inside, unmoving. Lily blinked, a bit embarrassed, turning the key a few more times, but the lock seemed welded shut. "What's going on, Lily? Can't even open your own door?" Ethan's mother complained impatiently. "It can't be, I tried the spare key last week." Lily's face couldn't hide her distress, and she yanked the key out in a fit, then kicked the thick security door with her foot. At this moment, a resolute, orderly footstep sounded from the hallway's private elevator area. 2 uniformed professional lockpickers rolled out, carrying heavy-duty lockpicking tools. Following them were yesterday's real estate manager Eric and 4 tall, stern-looking private security personnel. Seeing Eric, Lily immediately assumed the persona of the mansion's mistress and loudly admonished, "Who are you? How dare you bring outsiders onto this floor? Do you know who I am? I am the owner of this house." Eric did not lift a single eyelid, his hand stopping Lily's family from pushing forward as he spoke in a formal, official manner. "Ma'am, please keep your distance. We are assisting the new homeowner with changing the door locks and handling the asset handover procedures." "What are you saying? New homeowner?" Lily's voice instantly turned sharp, like glass being scraped. "Don't spout nonsense here. This house belongs to my sister Abigail. I'm her only biological sister. How could she possibly sell the house?" Just as Lily was frantically yelling, the lockpickers had already forcibly opened the security door with their professional tools. The door slid open slowly. The family, who had expected to see an incredibly luxurious interior, leather sofas, expensive crystal chandeliers, and top-tier artwork, stopped in their tracks and froze. Inside, nothing at all. Aside from bare walls and a thoroughly cleaned marble floor, not a single piece of paper or dust remained. The expensive redwood furniture and imported appliances that Lily had claimed as her own in the past were all gone, swept away yesterday afternoon by the second-hand luxury goods brokerage and professional cleaning team I had contacted. The house now looked so clean as to resemble a just-delivered shell space. What's going on? Where are the items? What about the watches and jewelry my sister collected? The furniture? Lily raved, rushing into the emptiness of the echoing living room, her eyes nearly bulging as she stared at the bare surroundings. Ethan and his mother were completely dumbfounded. They had brought all their luggage that day, even hiring a moving company to wait in the underground parking lot, only to find an empty apartment. Lily, didn't you say your sister had agreed to vacate the apartment for you? Ethan's mother demanded furiously. What is this? Are you playing us? Just then, a tall figure slowly emerged from behind. The new owner, Mr. David, walked into the living room accompanied by two private lawyers. Seeing Lily's family jumping around in the middle of the room, his brows furrowed deeply. Lawyer, according to the expedited full-payment property purchase agreement I signed with Miss Abigail, the property rights have now been fully transferred to my name, and both the deposit and down payment have been fully settled, Mr. David said, his voice cold and authoritative. How should we deal with these individuals who have illegally trespassed into my private residence? The accompanying lawyer stepped forward immediately, producing a copy of the latest property ownership certificate stamped by the Housing Administration Bureau, and declared firmly, according to our country's laws, property rights are determined by registration. The current owner of this property is confirmed to be Mr. David. We have recorded audio and video of the forced entry and attempted property invasion without permission, and reserve the right to pursue charges for illegal trespass and intentional destruction of property. Lily stared at the property certificate stamped with the red seal, where the transaction time was clearly marked as yesterday afternoon. She felt as if struck by lightning, her face turning deathly pale in an instant. Impossible. This has to be fake. You're all scammers. Lily stared at the property transfer certificate stamped with a red seal, completely losing her composure. She screamed hysterically, waving her arms and trying to rush forward to tear the document from the lawyer's hands. I'm pregnant. There's a child in my belly. My sister is maliciously transferring assets. She has no right to sell this house. Ethan's mother, coming to her senses, sat on the ground like a shrew and began wailing at the top of her lungs. They're hitting people. Robbers are stealing the house. They're forcing a pregnant woman to miscarry. Everyone, come quickly, lawlessness everywhere. The corridor instantly descended into chaos, causing neighbors to stick their heads out and watch. Just as Lily's family tried to use the pregnant status and moral coercion to muddy the waters, even calling the police to accuse me of illegally selling the inherited property, the private elevator door opened slowly once again. I stepped out wearing a sharply tailored black suit, my feet in 7-centimeter high heels, my crisp footsteps echoing clearly in the spacious corridor. Behind me followed two of the city's top inheritance litigation lawyers, along with two uniformed police officers. The moment she saw me, Lily's eyes blazed with intense hatred, and she rushed toward me like a madwoman. Abigail. You venomous woman. You actually sold the house behind our backs. That's the house Mom and Dad left for us. How dare you take it all for yourself? The security personnel instantly stepped forward, creating an iron barrier to keep Lily 3 paces away. Officer, it's her. Lily pointed at me, shouting at the police. She forged documents to sell the marital home belonging to me and my unborn child. She's committing a crime. I didn't even spare her a glance, calmly taking 2 thick documents from my briefcase and handing them to the officers. Officer, this is the original property deed, which has had only my name, Abigail, on it from the very beginning. This is the legally notarized will my parents had prepared at the notary office before they passed away, explicitly stating that this property is to be inherited solely by me, and has no connection to my sister, Lily. My tone didn't waver in the slightest, each word landing like a heavy hammer. Furthermore, here is a draft agreement that Lily privately forged my signature on, attempting to transfer the property into her name. I have already formally filed a lawsuit against her for document forgery and attempted fraud. After carefully comparing the documents, the police officer looked sternly at Lily. Ma'am, these property ownership documents are entirely legal and valid. This property is the personal, independent asset of Miss Abigail. She has the right to sell or dispose of it in any way she sees fit. Please leave immediately, otherwise we will be forced to take legal action against you for disrupting public order and trespassing on private property. Hearing that they might be detained, Ethan's mother's expression changed instantly. She hurriedly stood up and grabbed Lily. Lily, what is going on? Didn't you swear to me that this house could definitely be transferred to Ethan? Lily, in complete panic, sobbed and clutched Ethan's arm. Ethan, believe me. My sister is targeting me. This child in my belly is your own flesh and blood. How can you watch us end up homeless? I did this for our future. She fumbled in her bag and pulled out the crumpled prenatal checkup report, holding it high, trying to use the child as a last lifeline. Seeing that checkup report, the coldness at the corner of my lips deepened. In my past life, I was deceived by that prenatal report, thinking she was truly about to become a mother, and had yielded repeatedly. But later, I discovered just how filthy the secret behind that child really was. At 8 weeks of pregnancy, the estimated conception date is in early January of this year. I spoke suddenly, my voice low yet striking like a thunderclap in the hallway. Ethan froze. I slowly walked over to Lily, looking down at her with a mocking gaze. Lily, if I remember correctly, Ethan was on a business training trip in North America for the entire month of January, with clear passport records showing his entry and exit. So, how exactly was this child in your belly conceived in early January? The moment these words left my lips, the hallway fell into a deathly silence. Ethan's expression shifted from confusion to shock, and then instantly to a dark, furious rage. He whipped his head toward Lily, his eyes blazing with utter disbelief. What did you say? January? I wasn't even in the country in January. Lily's face drained of all color in that instant, turning pale as paper. Panicked, she tried to hide the prenatal checkup report, her voice stuttering. No. It's not that. Ethan, let me explain. It's a medical miscalculation of the gestational age. I didn't betray you. Miscalculation? I calmly took out my phone, casually pulled up an electronic bill, and displayed it on the large screen for everyone present. From January 5th to 10th, your hotel expenses at a 5-star hotel in Santorini were charged to the supplementary card I gave you. And the one with you was that so-called rich second-generation friend you met at the nightclub, wasn't it? Boom! The fatal flaw in the conception date and the evidence of infidelity exploded like a nuclear bomb, shattering Lily's last pretense into pieces. Slap! A crisp, resounding slap echoed through the corridor. Ethan's strike held nothing back, landing across Lily's face. Her delicate body was knocked to the ground, letting out a shrill cry as blood instantly seeped from the corner of her mouth. You bitch! You dare use some bastard's child to ruin our family's reputation? And you tricked us into buying a wedding home? Ethan trembled violently with rage, his eyes blazing red, like a beast ready to devour. Ethan's mother was so furious she nearly fainted, pointing at Lily's nose and screaming, "No wonder you insisted on buying a luxury wedding home. It was all a trick to steal our bride price through false pretenses. Call off the engagement. Do it now. Return every cent of the $500,000 bride price and all the jewelry we gave you." The onlookers, neighbors, agents, and security burst into a chorus of disdainful murmurs. Lily, sprawled on the floor, clutched her swollen face and wailed desperately, reaching out to grab Ethan's pant leg. Ethan! Listen to me. It's all my sister's doing. I love you. Ethan kicked her hand away, his eyes filled with nothing but disgust and revulsion. Get lost. Don't touch me with your dirty hands. Lawyer, prepare to sue her for bride price fraud. As her marriage and last lifeline were about to crumble in an instant, Lily panicked completely. In a frenzy, she pulled out her phone and frantically dialed her biological mother, my extremely biased stepmother. "Mom! Help me! Abigail, that venomous woman, sold the house. She's slandering me in front of Ethan. Ethan wants to divorce me and get the bride price back. Come save me." Lily sobbed hysterically on the phone. Less than half an hour later, my stepmother rushed to the scene in a flurry. Without even grasping the full situation, she stepped out of the elevator and immediately shielded Lily, pointing at my nose and hurling insults. "Abigail! You ungrateful wretch! Your sister is pregnant, and you torment her like this. Mom and Dad are gone. As her older sister, you should be taking care of her, but instead you sold her wedding home. Do you have any humanity left?" The stepmother then turned to Ethan and his mother, forcing a smile and apologizing. "Mother-in-law, there must be a misunderstanding. Lily is a well-behaved girl. This child is definitely Ethan's. As for the house, even if this one was sold, I still have the trust inheritance subsidy. Our family has money. We won't let Ethan suffer any loss." The moment I heard the words trust inheritance subsidy, a cold, cruel smile curved my lips. I slowly pulled another authoritative legal document from my folder, issued by an international trust institution. "Stepmother, it seems you've forgotten the extremely specific tracing and freezing clause attached to the independent trust fund our parents set up before they passed away." My clear voice cut through the noisy crowd, reaching every ear with precision. The stepmother's face shifted slightly. "What? What nonsense are you talking about? That's the living expenses our parents left for us. Article 23 of the trust agreement explicitly states, if any beneficiary is suspected of criminal fraud, forging legal documents, or engaging in major illegal or breach of contract behavior regarding marital integrity, and is reported by another independent beneficiary with judicial evidence, all monthly subsidies in their name will be permanently frozen, and all previously distributed funds will be reclaimed." I stepped forward, presenting the official report receipt with the judicial authentication seal in front of my stepmother. "This morning at 8 o'clock, I have formally submitted all legal evidence to the board of directors of the trust fund regarding Lily's forged signature attempt to misappropriate the inheritance, as well as suspected marital fraud. Just 3 minutes ago, the trust fund already passed the resolution unanimously. From this moment, Lily and you, as the guardianship-related party, will have all trust fund disbursements permanently frozen." This sentence completely shattered the stepmother's last bit of nerve. The stepmother was struck by lightning, her phone dropped with a clack to the ground, shattering. She trembled, and the arrogance in her eyes was instantly replaced by overwhelming fear. "And no way. That's my living expenses. You can't freeze it." I not only froze the subsidies, but I will also represent the trust fund in court to sue for the 200 million trust funds that Lily illegally siphoned and squandered over the past 3 years. My gaze was cold as iron, as I looked down at the mother and daughter who were crouched on the ground. "The rest of your lives will be spent in endless lawsuits for restitution." In the vast opulent corridor, the air seemed to crystallize into ice. The stepmother's face turned ashen, her legs weak, she slid down along the cold marble wall. She had toiled for years, dreaming of drawing monthly profits from trust funds to live in ease. At this moment, that fantasy was utterly shattered. "No. Abigail, I am your mother. You can't be so cold-hearted." The stepmother cried out heartbreakingly, losing the earlier momentum. "Even if Lily is wrong, you can't cut off our livelihoods completely. You're not my mother. You're just my father's current wife." I regarded her coolly, without a trace of warmth. "Moreover, in the trust agreement, your name is merely the insured under Lily's base. Since Lily has been disqualified, you naturally won't get a single cent." Ethan and his mother, standing nearby, listened clearly. So not only did the 400-square-meter luxury villa collapse, but the luxury trust that Lily boasted about, claiming tens of thousands in income every month, was also a sky-high castle that could collapse at any moment. Excellent. A pair of deceptive mother and daughter. Ethan's mother's lips turned purple with anger as she pounced, slamming insults at Lily. Not only did you come into our family with someone else's wild seed, but your family background and wealth are all fake. We planned a top hotel for the wedding, bought a full set of gold jewelry, and even lent you $3 million to support your so-called foreign business. Now you should return the money to me. $3 million? What $3 million? The stepmother froze, fearfully looking at Lily. Lily, when did you take their $3 million? Lily, beaten into a ball, was covered in blood and tears, her eyes flickering with fear to speak. What else could that be besides $3 million? Ethan shouted in anger, pulling out his phone and slamming several electronic promissory notes against Lily's face. She told me she has a family business overseas that needs bridging funds, and once the trust dividend and mansion transfer come through, she'll pay me back double. Now it's all blown. You con artist. Seeing those promissory notes, I couldn't help but feature a smirk of irony I had long anticipated. In the previous life, Lily, to maintain the wealthy daughter persona in front of this so-called handsome and rich Ethan, not only wildly overdrawn my credit card but secretly borrowed at high interest and signed junior debt contracts to buy designer bags and luxury cars. She planned to seize my mansion, then mortgage the house to the bank to cover the holes, but I took the house for myself early, froze the trust, and her concealed tumor finally ruptured ahead of time. Actually, $3 million is just a small head. I spoke at the right moment, my voice small, yet like a hammer hammering on everyone's suspended hearts. I took out my phone and pressed play. A clear audio recording filled the corridor. It was the voice of a leader from a shady lending institution. Miss Abigail, thank you for providing the clues. Your sister Lily borrowed $8 million in high-interest loans from us under the name of heir to the mansion. According to the agreement, today is the final repayment deadline. Since she isn't here today, we will send someone to locate her on the spot. As soon as the audio finished, the private elevator at the end of the corridor opened with a ding. 5 sturdy men in black leather jackets with fierce tattoos on their arms swaggered out. The leading scar-faced man held a thick stack of promissory notes in his hand and scanned the scene viciously. Who is Lily? The scar-faced man yelled coldly. When Lily saw this group of people, she let out a scream in terror and frantically hid behind Ethan, crying, Ethan! Save me! They're vampires! I can't let them get me! However, Ethan, as if encountering the plague, forcefully shoved Lily in front of the men in black and shouted sternly, Don't count on me. I have nothing to do with this bitch. Her debt has nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with you? Kid, take a look at the guarantor's signature on this IOU. It's clearly your name, Ethan. The scar-faced man sneered, pulling out a promissory note and slamming it onto Ethan's chest. Ethan grabbed the note and saw, to his horror, his own name and ID number as the guarantor. He stared at Lily in fear. You actually stole my seal and ID to sign as guarantor? You devil! I just wanted to borrow some money to get by. I thought I could get the house. Lily tried to explain through sobs, but couldn't even finish a coherent sentence. Shut up! The scar-faced man grabbed Lily by the hair and forced her to the ground. $8 million in principal, plus this month's interest makes it $10 million. If you don't produce the money today, not only will this woman not leave, but you, as the guarantor, won't step foot out of this building either. Let go of my son. Ethan's mother, seeing this, rushed forward to grapple with the men in black but was slapped to the ground by one of them. The entire corridor descended into chaos. Sounds of scuffling, wailing, crying, and shouting filled the air. To protect himself, Ethan knelt before the scar-faced man and begged loudly, Brother. I was tricked by her. I don't even know her. I'll go to the police station today to report her for fraud. Our marriage agreement is null and void. I'm taking back all the dowry and the $3 million preparation funds. If you want someone, go after her, not me. Null and void? Too late. the guarantor is written in black and white. If you can't pay up, your family's company assets will cover it today. The scar-faced man replied ruthlessly, ignoring any explanation. I watched this scene coldly, seeing the villains who had once conspired to strip me of everything now tearing into each other like dogs fighting, and felt only endless satisfaction. In my past life, they had driven me to the brink, feasting on my flesh and blood. In this life, I would let them sink step by step into the abyss of endless debt and betrayal. Mr. David, the new owner, it seems the private security here needs a thorough cleanup by the police, I said softly, turning to the stern-faced Mr. David beside me. Mr. David nodded and signaled his accompanying lawyer to call the police. I put away my phone, picked up my suitcase, and in my high heels, stepped over Lily, who was crawling on the ground like a dog amidst the chaos and screams. Without looking back, I elegantly walked into the elevator. After the farce in the hallway was forcefully subdued by the police who arrived on the scene, Lily and her stepmother were thrown out of Huafu Tianjing like stray dogs. The pressure from underground loan sharks, the full-scale fallout with Ethan's family and their demand for the bride price back, combined with the complete freeze on the monthly subsidies from the trust fund, left the mother and daughter ruined overnight, becoming universally reviled outcasts. However, someone as selfish as Lily would never resign herself to defeat. On the afternoon of the third day, in a private room of an extremely discreet cafe on the outskirts of the city, Lily waited anxiously, her eyes red and swollen. Across from her sat a middle-aged woman dressed in a top-tier haute couture suit, wearing gold-rimmed glasses, with a calm and composed demeanor, Dr. Emma. Emma was a senior overseas asset allocation and compliance audit master Lily had met at an exclusive socialite salon, known for holding shares in multiple offshore companies in the Cayman Islands, specializing in helping wealthy families handle complex inheritance disputes and asset transfers. Sister Emma, you must save me. Lily clutched Emma's hands like a drowning person grabbing a lifeline, tears streaming down her face. That poisonous woman my sister sold the mansion our parents left behind and froze my trust. Now the loan sharks and Ethan's family are pushing me to the brink. If you can help me reclaim my assets or transfer the debts, I'm willing to give you a 30% cut. Emma smiled faintly, elegantly sipping her coffee, her eyes exuding a convincing professionalism and composure. Miss Lily, calm down. Your sister's actions may seem legally airtight, but she has made a fatal error. She overlooked the priority debt liquidation rights of offshore family assets. Lily's eyes lit up instantly. Priority debt liquidation rights? What does that mean? Simple. Emma naturally pulled out a thick document entirely in English from her briefcase and slid it in front of Lily. We will urgently register an offshore shell company for you in the British Virgin Islands. Then, the shell company will issue a family asset bridge loan agreement backdated 3 years, claiming that your parents borrowed $30 million from the company before their death for overseas investments, using all your potential inheritance as collateral. Emma lowered her voice, her tone persuasive. This way, you can not only file a lawsuit against your sister for malicious liquidation of inheritance and infringement of offshore creditor interests to freeze the $19 million cash she got from selling the house, but also bundle all your current loans and debts to Ethan under the name of Shell Company Investment Losses and transfer them to Ethan's family enterprise. Lily's heart raced with excitement, her eyes turning red with fervor. In her eyes, this was a perfect counterattack plan, a chance to turn the tables. Not only could she freeze my large cash reserves, but she could also dump all her own mess onto Ethan, with whom she had already fallen out. Sister Emma. You're truly my savior. I'll sign. I'll sign right now. Lily didn't even bother reading the English clauses in the document, picking up the pen to sign at the bottom. Wait. Emma raised an eyebrow, seemingly reminding her kindly, this agreement requires you to sign a full unlimited joint and several liability guarantee. Additionally, to ensure the shell company's legal validity, you must attach Ethan's previously stamped family enterprise authorization documents as an appendix. Are you sure Ethan won't be able to retrieve these documents? He won't. All those seals and documents are in my hands. Lily grinned viciously and, without hesitation, signed her name across every page of the agreement in bold strokes, pressing her blood-red fingerprint onto the document. She had no idea that the senior compliance auditor seated across from her, Emma, had been a senior advisor at my personally founded Risk and Compliance Foundation for 3 years now. This so-called overseas shell company rescue plan was, from start to finish, a bottomless pit meticulously tailored just for her. The English agreement contained no priority liquidation rights. It was, in reality, a ruthlessly binding debt consolidation acknowledgement and a joint liability declaration for tax evasion. Not only did Lily fail to offload even a single cent of debt, but through this agreement, she legally cemented all evidence of her illegal seizure of Ethan family's corporate seal, forged commercial contracts, and tax-evading accounts into an official legal document. 10 minutes later, Emma walked out of the cafe with the signed and fingerprinted contract. She slid into the back seat of the black Maybach parked by the curb and respectfully handed the documents to me, seated in the back. I opened the contract, my gaze lingering on Lily's impatient signature, and a frosty smile curled at the corner of my lips. Ms. Abigail. Everything is proceeding according to your plan, Emma reported deferentially. Lily has attached all core evidence of the Ethan family's off-the-books accounting and forged customs declarations as offshore company asset certificates to the agreement. We can now initiate tax liquidation and criminal charges against the Ethan family at any time. I closed the folder, twirling the ink jade ring on my finger, my eyes devoid of warmth. No rush. Let the bullet fly a little longer. Wait until Ethan believes he has thoroughly shed the burden of Lily, then deliver this grand gift to him. Desperate Lily seemed to grasp at a lifeline that could turn her fortunes around, her entire demeanor swelling with renewed arrogance. Early the next morning, she clung to her stepmother, dressed in a striking red dress, and swaggered into the commercial building housing Ethan's family business. At that moment, Ethan was seated in his luxurious general manager's office, having assembled all the company's core executives for an urgent meeting to discuss crisis management, how to distance himself from the scandal involving the fraudulent marriage and pregnant woman, and recover the $3 million in planning funds. With a loud bang, the office's wooden door was kicked open by Lily. Ethan. You spineless freeloader. You think you can just dump me by unilaterally announcing our breakup? Lily shrieked sharply, storming toward Ethan's desk under the gaze of the entire office area. Ethan's face turned ashen with rage. He slammed his hand on the desk and leapt to his feet. You shameless woman. How dare you come to my company and cause a scene? Security. Where the hell is security? Throw these two hysterical women out. Throw us out? I'd like to see anyone dare touch me today. Her stepmother suddenly pulled a long white banner with black text from her bag and, with a sharp whoosh, unfurled it across the office area. The banner boldly read, "Unscrupulous heir Ethan abandons after deceit. Tricked spouse into pregnancy, maliciously seized official seal, and abandoned his own flesh and blood." The entire office erupted in uproar, whispers spreading like a tide. Employees pulled out their phones to take photos, and some even discreetly started internal live streams. You're going too far. Ethan trembled with fury, his finger pointing at Lily shaking violently. That child in your belly isn't even mine. And you have the nerve to come here with a banner? Lily sneered down at him, her eyes filled with the madness of a small person drunk on power. So what if it is or isn't yours? Ethan, don't think you're clean. You think you've completely gotten rid of me? Let me tell you, I've already submitted all your dirty little secrets, tax evasion, forged invoices, illegal asset transfers, to an offshore asset investigation agency overseas. She crossed her arms arrogantly and stepped closer to Ethan. Those documents you secretly stamped for me to launder money through overseas channels have already triggered formal legal proceedings. If you don't hand over the $3 million settlement today, plus another $5 million as compensation for my emotional distress, I'll make sure your entire company goes down with you. After hearing this, a flicker of confusion crossed Ethan's eyes before turning into boundless rage. What the hell are you talking about? When did I ever ask you to launder money overseas? What official seal and laundering agreement? Have you lost your mind? Stop pretending. Lily grew more smug with each word, completely immersed in the fantasy woven for her by Dr. Emma. Dr. Emma, the compliance auditor for the offshore company, has already locked onto all your accounts. If you don't pay up the child support and compensation today, just wait to go to jail. Just as Lily was screaming her accusations, trying to force Ethan into submission with this fictitious overseas agreement, a deep and solemn voice suddenly came from outside the office door. "Excuse me, which of you is the company's legal representative, Mr. Ethan?" The crowd parted automatically, making way for public officials in tax inspection uniforms, accompanied by several economic crime police officers, entered the office with grave expressions. The lead inspector presented his enforcement credentials and a seizure warrant bearing official red-letter documentation. Ethan panicked instantly, rushing forward to greet them. "Officers, what's going on here? Our company is a big taxpayer, we've always complied with the law." The head of the inspection team stood expressionless, his voice cold as iron. "At 9 o'clock this morning, we received a real-name tip, and we have obtained a legally binding offshore company contingent asset and account protocol. The materials of the report attach ironclad evidence that your company forged customs clearance documents in the past 3 years, kept 2 sets of accounts, and illegally evaded taxes totaling 46 million yuan through overseas shell companies." As he spoke, the head turned his head, coldly glancing at Lily, who sat nearby with a smug look. "And moreover, this crucial illegal accounting protocol bears not only the financial seal of Ethan Company, but also the handwritten signature and a copy of the ID of Ms. Lily as the joint guarantor and the administrator. According to the tax collection and administration law and relevant provisions of the criminal law, we are formally sealing the company's accounts and simultaneously taking criminal coercive measures against Mr. Ethan and Ms. Lily." With those words, it was like a thunderclap from the 9 heavens, exploding through the office. Lily's self-satisfaction and arrogance froze in an instant, her pupils contracting violently, the whole person trembling like a dehydrated sieve. "No. That's not true. Tax authorities, I was deceived. It was Dr. Emma who had me sign. She said this was a lifeline agreement that could help me transfer the debt. Save your words for the interrogation room and tell it to the police there." A police officer stepped forward, cold steel handcuffs snapping shut around Lily's slender wrists. "No, Ethan, save me. Mom, save me." Lily collapsed, screaming madly and struggling. Meanwhile, when Ethan heard that the deadly agreement had actually been delivered by Lily herself to the tax department, he was struck hard, his eyes nearly bulging out of their sockets. He rushed forward, frenziedly pounding on the handcuffed Lily. "Bitch. It was you. You ruined our family company. You bad luck charm. I'll kill you, I'll kill you." The police quickly restrained the out-of-control Ethan, also snapping on gleaming handcuffs. The office area was in chaos, banners lay on the floor, trampled to shreds. The stepmother sat on the ground emitting despairing wails. And Ethan and Lily, who had once flaunted a lavish engagement on social media, were dragged like criminals by the police, surrounded by a crowd of employees who spat and filmed them as they were led away to the patrol car. In an extreme panic and despair, Lily, who had been released on bail, tries one final desperate counterattack. To evade prison due to tax evasion and related liabilities, and to escape the furious pursuit by underground high-interest lenders, Lily, guided by her stepmother, contacted a community mediation program that is extremely popular in the city. Highly adept at moral coercion and stirring up sensational hotspots, there is true affection in the world. In the TV studio of the mediation scene, the lights are glaring, and several live cameras frame the central stage from all directions. Lily wears a washed-out, thin, shabby outfit, her face pale, eye sockets red. Her belly is prominently rounded, her body swaying, crying out heart-wrenchingly before the camera with tears and sobs. "Dear viewers, I'm truly at my wit's end." Lily sobs, facing millions of online viewers, her voice choked, almost unable to breathe. "I am 8 months pregnant, yet my own biological sister Abigail is driving me to a dead end. Our parents passed early, leaving a house worth tens of millions and a trust with a multi-million inheritance. But my sister, to swallow the entire family fortune for herself, during my pregnancy checkup secretly sold the house and colluded with outsiders to freeze the life-saving trust subsidy for me. As she gets emotional, the stepmother rushes in from the side, kneeling before the camera and wailing, "Everyone, judge this poor pregnant woman fairly." My eldest daughter not only kicked me, her stepmother, out of the house, but also framed my younger sister with tens of millions in debt. My poor little daughter has nowhere to live and cannot even afford the money for the pregnancy medication for the child in her womb. The host's face is full of sorrow and righteous indignation. He turns toward the live broadcast cameras and proclaims with conviction, "Where is family affection? Where is ethics?" In the face of a pregnant younger sister and an elderly mother, how heartless must Abigail be to do such a monstrous, inhumane thing? Today we have invited Miss Abigail to the scene to hear what she has to say. The audience both on stage and off erupts into a chorus of furious judgment, and the barrage of comments online is full of insults, all denouncing me as a viperous witch and a cold-blooded demon. Just as online public opinion rises to its peak in anger, the studio door is slowly pushed open. I am wearing a couture white blazer, looking relaxed and composed, accompanied by 2 lawyers and a medical exam expert in a white coat, calmly walking onto the stage. Facing a hail of curses and the host's questions, I do not even lift my eyelids, instead signaling to my accompanying assistant. "Host, since this is we must respect evidence." My voice rings clearly through the microphone throughout the studio. "Before we pass moral judgment, please watch a segment of footage on the big screen." The giant LED screen in the center of the stage lights up instantly. On the screen, there is, clearly, surveillance footage from my parents' old home 3 months ago. In the footage, Lily is holding professional tools, deftly prying open the safe left by our parents, sweeping out the jewelry, gold bars, and stock certificates, even producing cash checks on the spot, imitating my signature on a gift agreement with a few strokes. The audience falls silent in an instant. The host's expression freezes on his face. First, this is Lily forging my personal signature and secretly stealing our parents' belongings and property, with a complete surveillance and handwriting analysis report. My words are crisp and icy, striking at the heart. Her so-called monopolizing the inheritance is merely my lawful effort to recover what she stole. Then, the screen changes, showing a medical diagnosis from a top-tier hospital and surveillance footage. During the surveillance, Lily hid in a stall of the hospital restroom and secretly mixed a large amount of hormonally active drugs and emetics, which are prohibited for pregnant women, into a water cup and drank it herself. Second, and most importantly, I turned around, looking down on Lily with a pale face. Lily has repeatedly claimed in this show that she is a fragile, desperate pregnant woman, but in fact, to create the illusion of miscarriage caused by sister abuse to gain sympathy, she privately took large amounts of emmenagogues with severe side effects and attempted to use the health of the fetus in her womb as a bargaining chip to threaten me. An authoritative medical expert grabbed the microphone on the spot and addressed the whole online audience with a solemn statement. According to the examination report, Lily's fetus is developing normally, but her body contains high concentrations of banned drug components that simulate miscarriage symptoms. Such behavior is extremely irresponsible toward the fetus and constitutes serious abuse of an unborn baby and fabrication. Bang! The solid evidence is undeniable. The surveillance footage, handwriting analysis, and medical test reports, 3 hammer blows, completely shredded all of Lily's disguises. The barrage in the live chat room fell silent for 2 seconds, then erupted with a devastating twist. Holy shit! This twist is freaking disgusting. She steals from a locked cabinet, then drugs and frames her own sister? This isn't a pitiable pregnant woman. This is a drama queen with a poisoned tongue. To use the health of the baby as a tool to harm others, that woman is terrifying. She doesn't deserve to be a mother. Lily stared at the monitors and the test reports on the big screen, her whole body struck by lightning, trembling violently. She pointed at me, trying to speak in her defense, but her throat was so dry she could not utter a complete sentence. I didn't. This isn't me. The host, sweating with fear, quickly drew a clear line to the camera. This program strongly condemns respondents who provide false information or mislead the public. We support protecting our rights through legal channels. Lily, you manipulate public sympathy to moralize and frame others, and you are suspected of commercial defamation. I let out a cold laugh. taking a formal complaint from the lawyer, and slammed it in Lily's face in front of all the cameras. "See you in court." Immersive translate. The complete scandal on the live broadcast instantly turned Lily into a jumped-up clown facing the wrath of the entire internet. The online outrage drowned her like a tidal wave, and her scheme to use public opinion to counterattack me ultimately became a death warrant, cutting off all her retreat. Under the combined pressure of immense psychological stress and the side effects of prohibited substances, Lily gave birth prematurely in the middle of that night at the hospital designated by the detention center, delivering a baby boy weighing less than 4 pounds. The baby's cries brought no warmth. Instead, they sparked an even more brutal battle over interests. Ethan, who had been released on bail and faced a massive lawsuit for tax evasion, and his family underwent a bizarre and dramatic shift in attitude upon learning that Lily had given birth to a boy. Ethan's mother, accompanied by several black-clad bodyguards and 2 senior marital lawyers, stormed the hospital's maternity ward with aggressive intent, attempting to forcibly take the newborn. "This child is the flesh and blood of our Ethan family." Ethan's mother shrieked at the ward door, her eyes brimming with calculation and greed. "Even if Lily is a morally corrupt criminal, custody of the child must belong to us. Only by gaining custody can we apply to the trust fund and relevant authorities to unfreeze part of the family assets under the name of raising an heir." It turned out the Ethan family intended to use the newborn as leverage for hedged funds, using the child's custody as a pretext to forcibly seize the child's potential compensation and living allowance subsidies. Lily, frail on her hospital bed, screamed hysterically, clutching the baby tightly and refusing to let go. "Get out! This is my child. You'll never take him. Ethan, that useless piece of trash, doesn't deserve to be a father." The two sides erupted into an ugly scuffle and argument in the hospital corridor, escalating into physical confrontation and drawing a crowd of reporters and onlookers. Just as the two families were at each other's throats over custody and preparing for a life-and-death battle in court, an urgent court summons was abruptly issued. At the hearing in the city's family court, the atmosphere was grim. Lily sat in the defendant's seat, gaunt and with eyes full of madness, while Ethan and his mother on the opposite side wore expressions of smug confidence, holding a fabricated paternity intention statement, hoping to secure custody in court. The judge struck the gavel and spoke solemnly, "Regarding the custody of the newborn and the related application for trust inheritance withdrawal, do either the plaintiff or defendant have new legal evidence to submit?" "Your Honor, we have critically conclusive evidence," I said, dressed in a deep blue haute couture suit, stepping into the court under the gaze of everyone, accompanied by the director of the authoritative DNA Genetic Testing Center. I pulled a report stamped with the National Judicial Appraisal seal from my briefcase and handed it to the judge's desk. Immediately after the child was born, under judicial supervision, we legally conducted the highest precision DNA paternity test comparing the child and Ethan, I declared, my voice crisp and cold, echoing word by word in the courtroom. The results show that the biological kinship probability between Ethan and the newborn is 0%. As these words rang out, Ethan's mother was struck as if by a heavy blow, slumping rigidly into her chair. Ethan shot to his feet, his eyes nearly bulging out. "What? 0%? Impossible. That tramp told me the child was mine." "Don't rush, that's just the first page," I scoffed, my voice dripping with endless mockery. "The second part of this report compares the child's DNA with that of Mason, the former CFO of the Ethan family enterprise, and also Ethan's most trusted and heavily relied upon business partner." I turned around and slammed the second comparison result onto the desk in front of Ethan. The results show a 99.99% probability of biological parentage between the newborn and Mr. Mason. In other words, the child in Lily's womb has been your partner Mason's seed from the very beginning. Asterisk boom. Asterisk the courtroom erupted in uproar. Journalists' camera flashes flickered wildly. Ethan stared at the black and white, officially stamped paternity report, completely losing his mind. He never imagined that not only had Lily been playing him like a pawn, but even his core business partner, Mason, had been secretly siphoning off his company's assets while stealing his woman behind his back. Lily. Mason. You two beasts. Ethan let out a ferocious, agonized roar toward the heavens, tears of blood streaming from the corners of his eyes in utter humiliation. The shocking revelation of the DNA comparison report completely shattered Ethan's family's last chance to salvage their situation and toppled the first domino in their total collapse. As soon as the courtroom doors swung open, Ethan, barely able to contain his rage, charged like a mad beast toward Lily in the defendant's seat, his fists pounding frantically at her face. "You bitch! You and that animal Mason destroyed everything I had." The accompanying family members and bodyguards from both sides instantly clashed, creating a chaotic mix of screams, curses, and physical blows echoing through the courthouse corridors. It took over a dozen bailiffs wielding anti-riot batons and pepper spray to forcibly separate a bloodied Ethan and a disheveled Lily. Yet an even greater disaster followed almost immediately. In the very instant the paternity test results were exposed, Mason, the core partner who had been pulling the strings from behind the scenes to manipulate the tax evasion accounts, fled overnight, absconding with over 30 million yuan in remaining liquid funds from Ethan's family business, and escaped the country aboard a private jet. The sudden break in the capital chain plunged the already struggling enterprise, already teetering under tax audits, into complete ruin. The following morning, the Municipal Intermediate People's Court officially announced Ethan's family business was declared bankrupt and subject to liquidation in accordance with the law due to massive tax evasion, illegal fraudulent invoicing, and inability to repay matured debts. Concurrently, prosecutors formally filed criminal charges against Ethan and his parents for commercial fraud and forging official documents. Once the arrogant young master of a powerful family, Ethan plummeted from the heights to rock bottom overnight, not only saddled with tens of millions in debt but also facing at least 7 years in prison. As the mastermind behind the entire scheme, Lily's fate was even more. Since she was implicated in forging legal documents, participating in the family business's tax crimes, illegally seizing inheritance, and carrying massive underground loan debts, she was directly arrested by police upon her discharge from the hospital and taken to a detention center to await trial. The detention center's cold, piercing iron door slammed shut behind her. In desperation, Lily attempted to mimic the sinister tactics of her past life, hoping to apply for bail pending trial by claiming severe postpartum depression and serious schizophrenia to evade legal punishment. Every day in her cell, she pretended to be insane, went on hunger strikes, screamed, tore at her clothes, and even deliberately banged her head against the wall, trying to fake a mental breakdown. The detention center lawfully arranged for a professional third-party medical evaluation agency to assess her mental state. On the day of the assessment, when Lily was escorted into the examination room by 2 female officers, she immediately spotted the middle-aged man in a white coat sitting in the chief physician's seat. His name badge boldly read, Huaming Top Brain Hospital, Chief Psychiatric Expert, Director Zhang. Lily's heart sank to the bottom of the ocean. She clearly remembered that this Huaming Top Brain Hospital was the independent legacy trust fund established by her late parents, now wholly owned and chaired by me. No. I won't do the evaluation. Replace her. She's Abigail's person. She's trying to harm me. Lily shrieked, retreating like she had seen a ghost, desperately trying to rush out of the examination room. Director Zhang pushed his glasses up and emotionlessly presented legally valid certification documents and full surveillance equipment to the accompanying officers. The entire evaluation process is recorded audio-visually and supervised on-site by 2 judicial inspectors. Director Zhang's voice was devoid of any emotion, stating, based on 7 consecutive days of physiological monitoring, brainwave analysis, and multidimensional psychological testing, the subject Lily is in a state of extreme mental clarity, with clear logical thinking, exhibiting highly obvious behavior of feigning mental illness to evade criminal responsibility. An authoritative assessment report declaring her completely mentally sound and fully accountable for criminal responsibility was signed and stamped on the spot. The wind in the prison was so cold it could tear through one's bones. Behind me, the heavy iron door of the detention center clicked shut, its muffled sound echoing down the narrow, dim corridor for what seemed like an eternity. I walked on the cold marble floor, step by step, in my stiletto heels. The sharp, rhythmic click of my heels striking the ground sounded like the final countdown of a long liquidation ritual. Behind me, 2 top-tier lawyers followed, carrying thick briefcases, their expressions solemn. In the meeting room, the air was thick with the pungent smell of disinfectant and mold. Separated by the heavy, bulletproof glass partition, I slowly sat down. Across from me, the iron door was pushed open with a thud. Lily was escorted in by 2 female officers, one on each side. In just a few short days, the once elegant, arrogant Lily, who spent her days fantasizing about marrying into wealth, had completely transformed. She wore a drab, oversized, thin detention center uniform, her hair a tangled mess, her face sallow and earthy. Her once slender, well-manicured fingers were now cracked and bleeding. She was emaciated, her eyes sunken and filled with bloodshot veins and utter despair. The moment she saw me, Lily's body trembled violently. She stared intently at my high-end cashmere coat, at the dazzling Chanel diamond earrings sparkling in my ears, her eyes bursting with extreme venom and madness. She lunged at the glass, slamming her handcuffed fists against the bulletproof surface. "Abigail! You vicious woman! You ruined me! You made me like this." Lily's voice, hoarse and piercing like a broken bellows, came through the intercom. "I'm your own sister. You sold the house, froze the trust, left me with tens of millions in debt, and threw me in prison. Don't you ever dream of Mom and Dad coming to settle the score with you?" Facing her hysterical outburst, I didn't even lift an eyelid. I elegantly crossed my legs, folded my hands on my lap, and let a frigid smile play at the corners of my lips. If Mom and Dad knew, they would only blame themselves for being blind and raising an ungrateful, murderous wolf like you. My voice was utterly calm, transmitting clearly through the intercom into her ears. "Lily, when you locked me in that cold, dark storage room in my past life, did you ever think you'd end up here today?" "Past life?" Lily froze for a moment, a flicker of confusion crossing her eyes, but it was quickly consumed by boundless hysteria. "What are you blabbering about? I don't understand. Give me back my assets. Give me back my trust. Ethan, that scumbag, plotted against me. Mason, that beast, deceived me. Get me out of here." I scoffed and gestured for the lawyers to lay out the documents against the glass for her to see. "Don't rush. I'm here today to deliver the final liquidation results." I pointed to the first document and spoke slowly. "The first is the preliminary criminal judgment just issued by the Municipal Intermediate People's Court. Given your involvement in forging official documents, stealing inheritance, falsifying commercial accounts for tax evasion, and participating in a massive loan shark fraud, your combined sentence is set at 18 to 22 years. Congratulations, the best years of your life will be spent behind bars and in labor camps." Lily's pupils contracted sharply, her face turning paler than paper in an instant, her lips trembling violently. "No. 20 years? I don't want to go to prison. I don't want to go to prison." "The second," I continued, flipping to the next document, "is a civil bankruptcy recovery order filed jointly by the underground loan sharks and Ethan's family. All of your assets under your name, including the luxury bags, jewelry, and luxury cars you secretly bought, have been forcibly auctioned by the court. The auction proceeds are not even enough to cover the slightest fraction of your debts. When you come out of prison 20 years from now, you will bear a lifelong, unavoidable debt of up to $47 million. As long as you have a single cent of income in this life, the bank will seize it directly. Third," my eyes cold as a blade, "regarding custody of that child. Given that you and Mason both face massive criminal charges and bankruptcy, the court has formally deprived you of custody. That child has already been legally sent to a distant welfare home. He will never know who his real parents are in this life, nor will he inherit even a single penny." Word by word, sentence by sentence, like scorching thunder from the heavens, crashing down on Lily's already fragile nerves. The luxurious mansion, the aristocratic marriage, the trust, the lavish life, even the child she had tried to use as a bargaining chip. Everything she had painstakingly and unscrupulously sought to seize and possess, at this moment, all evaporated into nothing. Not only did she get nothing, but she ended up in prison, laden with debt, shunned by everyone, and forever unable to reclaim her life. No! How could this be? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. All of this is mine. It's all mine. Lily finally collapsed completely. Like a madwoman, she slammed her head against the glass, letting out a chilling cry of terror and wailing. Tears, snot, and the blood at the corner of her mouth mixed together, making the face she once prided herself on look like a demon from hell. I slowly stood up, looking down from above at Lily, who was completely desperate and lunatic across the glass. Lily, this is what they call retribution. I raised my hand, gently straightening the cuff of my suit, not willing to waste another second on her. I turned around, stepping in confident, crisp high heels toward the door of the meeting room. No! Sis. Please. Please save me. I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Lily's pleading and screams echoed through the intercom behind me, but those sounds were quickly subdued by two stern female officers. Click. The iron door of the meeting room slowly closed behind me, completely sealing off that cold, dirty, and desperate world. Walking out of the detention center doors, the first light of dawn brushed my face. A breeze swept through, carrying away all the filth and gloom in the air. The blood feud of my past life dissolved completely at this moment. I lifted my head toward the golden sunrise, with an incredibly resolute and calm stride, walking toward my own, brand-new, brilliant life.